G'day everyone, Aussie Mark here with the ESEE Izula II. For a long time I've been watching videos on here and pretty much everyone seems to have an Izula knife, and many people said to me, you've got to get one of these things, they're great. And I resisted for a while, and in the end I sort of compromised. I didn't get an Izula, I got an Izula II. And the reason that I went for the Izula II is that the knife is slightly longer, the blade length and geometry and everything exactly the same, but there's an extra ½ inch of length which is in the handle. I've got slightly larger hands, so I decided that for me this would be the better way to go. This is obviously a very well known knife, or certainly the initial one is. Suitable uses, well, people can use it for a neck knife, fixed blade EDC, it could sit in a hip pocket, it could go in a survival kit, in a bug out bag, any number of uses where you need the strength of a fixed blade knife. It wouldn't go astray, it's a good thing to have. Blade steel is 1095 and the knife is a full flat ground. It's a drop point shape, the typical ESEE shape, which I love. I've got that also on some of the older Ontario knives that I've got. Lots of belly. It's just a very, very good blade shape. I can't say enough good things about it. Cutting edge on these is 2 5/8 of an inch or 66 millimeters. The overall length of this knife is 6 3/4 of an inch or 171 millimeters. Now if you compare that to the normal Izula, that is 6 1/4 inches or 158. So as mentioned, there's basically ½ an inch difference, and that's all in this section here, all in the handle. Speaking of the handle, very, very comfortable. I like it a lot. It's canvas micarta, well shaped, well rounded, and as you can see, quite large hands that I've got, but I can actually just get a 4-finger grip on that. Sometimes the little pinky finger sits into that little lanyard hole there. You've got the jimping on the top, and I'm very impressed with the feel of this for a small knife. It feels really good. It's very easy to choke right up there and do any sort of detail work with it. I like it a lot. That's one of the other reasons that I bought the Izula II, is that you do get the micarta scales. Now with the standard Izula you can buy micarta scales extra, but I thought for the money I might as well get them, and then if I don't want them on I can take them off to reduce weight, etc. Speaking of weight, that's the other penalty with this one, which is not just the additional length as far as carrying, but it is a little heavier. This knife, as it sits there now before you with the scales on it, comes in at 3.2 ounces. When you take the scales off you lose an ounce of that weight and it goes down to 2.2. The standard Izula weighs 2 ounces. So if you do want to take these scales off to reduce the weight of, say, you're wearing this neck knife or just want to slim that profile down, whatever, you're only going to be having 0.2 of an ounce extra weight for that extra handle length. So I think, you know, if you're like me and you have the slightly larger hands, I think it's worth that penalty to get that comfort in the use of the knife, which really that's the important thing for me, is when you're actually using the knife, how does it feel in the hand. Alright, sheath on this one, plastic, of course. It's pretty much, I think, exactly the same sheath as the standard Izula. No reason it wouldn't be, because the blade's the same. It's a plastic sheath, lots of mounting options, nice retention, it's not going anywhere. I've got mine set up with a bit of paracord just to wear it as a neck knife, which is the first knife I've set up that way. I really didn't think I'd like wearing neck knives, but had worn it around a little bit just in testing, and I've got to say the concept's growing on me. I'm probably going to get a couple of smaller type neck knives just to try that out and see how I like it, but it seems quite a practical idea. And of course there's other ways you can use your paracord, etc., to loop that onto the belt or whatever you want to do. Actually at this point I might just roll in. When I bought this knife I actually bought it as what they call the Izula II kit, which means that aside from just the knife, in the bag that it comes in you get all these extra bits and pieces. Now, first thing you get with any of these, of course, I think this is the same pamphlet that comes with the standard Izula and this one, is you get a bit of literature. And it's actually pretty good. Now, all those extra bits and pieces you can see on there is what you get in the kit. So there's things like, we'll go through it in a minute, but anyway, there's all these bits and pieces. On the back, it's got some actual practical information on things like how to use the lanyard, how to set it up for belt carry with paracord, etc., clip plate use, if you're going to fit a tet lock, the snap lock, paracord wrapping, use of the flint that comes with the kit, and one idea on how to use the split rings to set traps and things. So all in all, there's some good info on there. We'll just quickly show you what you get with the kit. I'm pretty sure this comes with them anyway, just the Randall card, little bits of survival info on there. Just tip this out and try not to lose it all over the place. Okay, we get a clip plate. Now I've actually turned that around to suit how I want to mount it if I carry it, which is like so. Normally it would come the other way around with that coarse side of the plastic out, but it's easily reversible for left or right hand carry if you want to belt wear this on your hip or whatever. And as I say, that's quite a good bit of gear. That's just screwed on. If you get 4 sets of Chicago screws here and some washers, so that all goes on. You've got a combination lanyard sort of holder and whistle thing here, which I don't plan to use. You've got a lanyard stopper, this little piece here which you can use with these rings to put around here if you wish to. This has got a ferrocium rod mounted in some magnesium, so it's a fire starter. And I think that's pretty much it. Now, I'll just sweep all that out of the way. The additional cost to get it in the kit at the time I bought mine, as opposed to just buying the knife on its own, was less than $10 US. So if you think you've got a use, or you want to just have those different carrying options, for example, anyone can do the bit of paracord, but maybe you want this clip so you can belt carry it, whatever, it's probably not a bad idea to buy the kit if you can get your hands on it. When I bought mine, this knife was only available in the black finish. I just noticed that it's starting to come out in the other colours now, as does the other Izula. I think there's a green and possibly a grey coming out, which I wouldn't have minded, to be honest, but it doesn't worry me. The black's quite a decent finish, and it looks good against the micarta. I might just pull those scales off and just show you how they're mounted, so that you can take them off, and if you do take them off, you basically drop an ounce of weight. So, very easy to do. You do need a Torx bit for these. At first when I looked at them I thought it was an Allen key, but it's not. It is in fact a Torx. So get that off there. Just poke that out. Now how they're fastened on, get that last little one to come out of there for us. There we go. So you can see there you've just got your screw into what looks like possibly an alloy threaded piece, and that other little screw goes in and holds your scales on. Excuse me. They fit quite well. There's a little liner on the inside of them. Might need a knife just to pry that off actually. Came off an awful lot easier before. There we go, that's the first one cracked off. Just get that little bit of a knock there. Okay, so that's the liners, or the scales I should say, and there's a little liner section if you like, which goes into that hollow in the blade. So with the liners off, still quite comfortable. Not as comfortable with the scales on, of course, but definitely very usable. So it's quite a decent option, as with the standard Izula, to take those scales off and to run it like that if you wish to. Now the one thing to be careful of putting these back on is those liners are designed to go a certain way. So oddly enough, when they're off it looks quite similar, like they'd fit either way. Trust me, they don't. So you see there's that little indentation down there. That should line up and drop in exactly. If, like me earlier, you find that it's not going in right, you've almost certainly got it in the wrong way. So it should click in home, just like that. Just throw your 2 screws back in. It's jamming up a little bit, that's better. Just going to hold those in with my fingers, go around the other side. We'll just pop those screws. These had no Loctite or anything on them, nor should they, I suppose, because after all, in this particular knife, it's likely that users may be taking them on and off reasonably regularly, depending on how they're using the knife. You may, for example, want the scales on for belt carry, but if you're going to use it for a neck knife for any period of time, you might take those scales off to reduce weight and slim down that profile. I think that'll be quite a reasonable sort of way to use the knife. Alright, just have a quick look at the markings. That's one side. They're all serial numbered. That's the number under the ant symbol there, and of course made in USA. You get those details there. I really like it. I'm always saying that grudgingly, because for the longest time I thought, you know, these Izulas, it's got to be all torque, they can't be that good. And I don't think it's a super knife or anything like that, but it's certainly a very practical little knife, very strong, great little fixed blade. You could throw it in any bag or whatever and have it on you for contingency use. And it's a great little thing. I'm really quite impressed with it. I say, with the scales on, in particular the Izula II, for those of you with bigger hands, this is the one I'd go with, and I think you'll be really happy with it. I certainly like mine much more than I thought I would, to be honest. I'm quite surprised at just how much I'm enjoying this knife. So I won't ramble on too long about it. Most of you guys are familiar with this knife, so I'll just chime in with my 2 cents worth and say, yeah, it's a good thing. I think the quality is very good, the value I think is good on it, and if you get one, if you have a use for a small fixed blade, you could probably do worse than one of these. All the best. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Bye for now.